Sometimes I think that parents get a bad rap these days. Sure, being a parent myself, there may be some personal biases that have helped to lead me to that conclusion, but I think that there's some truth to the idea. It's extremely challenging to raise children in our culture. In fact, I would say, and I have said before, it has never been more challenging to raise kids than it is right now. I mean that in a literal sense, that parenting is harder today than it ever was in the whole history of the human species. And I don't think that statement is hyperbole. Now, granted, life is easier today in a number of very important ways. If I was parenting 6 kids in the 1700s, for instance, the chance that all of them would make it to adulthood would be pretty slim. So for that extremely significant reason alone, I am happy to be living today rather than back then. But when it comes to the actual act of parenting, of trying to raise your children to be competent, well-adjusted, decent, functional, virtuous human beings in the world, we parents in the modern age have to navigate around certain enormous obstacles that did not exist until very recently. The biggest challenge is that while we're raising our children, civilization is decaying all around us. We live in a decadent, depraved, morally insane culture, one that actively wants to steal our kids' minds and souls and turn them into hollowed out husks of human beings. Now, of course, people have lived and parented in degenerate societies before. This, unfortunately, is a common experience in the history of human civilization. The difference now is that it's nearly impossible to escape the degeneracy. It's all around us. And homes today are filled with devices that become access points, places where our debased culture can reach in and grab a child and make him its prisoner. A child can be lost to the culture before he graduates elementary school. And he doesn't even need to leave his house. And when I say lost to the culture, I mean lost in ways previously unheard of. His entire sense of his own identity, his grasp on reality itself may be destroyed. So that's the unique challenge. It's the thing that no other generation of parent has really had to deal with, certainly not in the same way or to the same extent. So there is no roadmap for us. There's no how-to guide. The parenting wisdom passed down through the generations before us kind of runs off the tracks before it reaches us. And we're left out on our own to figure it out. This is why parents today deserve some grace, I believe. We're out here in the thick of it. We're in the trenches, doing our best. Cut us some slack. Well, some of us at least. Some of us are doing our best to raise our children to be decent people in spite of all of this. And some of us, on the other hand, are doing our best to make our children into the worst human beings the world has ever seen. And in some cases, we must admit, the hardest parenting environment has been met by the most insufferably awful parents of all time. And that's where our criticism should be pointed. Pointed, for example, at this woman. Her name is Arlie, and she has a TikTok account where she posts about and promotes her unique parenting style, a style that, as it turns out, is not nearly as unique as it should be. In fact, there are a lot of parents that parent basically like this. So here's one video that's gone viral this week. It now has nearly 2 million views, and more depressingly, it has almost 70,000 likes. The video shows various pictures and videos of her toddler son, along with captions explaining her parenting strategy. And I will read the captions as we watch it. Here's the video. It says, controversial ways we're raising our son. He has his own iPad. Screen time is not limited. He eats what he likes. He's never forced to eat something he doesn't like, and if there's nothing he likes, we go buy him something that he will eat. He's allowed to try and have candy, juice, soda, etc. We co-sleep and contact nap, whatever that is. If he wants something from the store, he will get it. He doesn't have a strict bedtime routine. He will not be made to do something he does not want to do. His feelings and boundaries are just as valid as ours. When he says no, it means no. There we go. Poor kid. All right, so no means no. Well, that's a problem for me because my kids say no to doing their chores, to going to bed, to brushing their teeth, to getting dressed in the morning, etc. Well, let me clarify. My kids absolutely would never say no to me when I tell them to do any of those things. They know that saying no to dad isn't going to fly. But if they thought they could get away with it, they would absolutely say no to all of those things. If no was an option on the menu, they would choose it for nearly every productive and healthy thing I tell them to do. That's because kids have an extremely limited ability to understand that there are benefits to doing something you don't want to do. The concept of delayed gratification is very difficult for a child to grasp. And at a certain age, they literally just don't get it at all. They don't understand the concept. It's impossible at a certain age. Now, that child there in the video, my daughter is not much older than him, and I have on many occasions, just for fun, asked her to explain why she doesn't want to do something that she says she doesn't want to do. Like, I'll ask her to do something, I'll tell her to do something, and she'll say she doesn't want to do it, and I'll say, well, why don't you want to do it? And the answer is almost always, because I don't want to. Which isn't her being disrespectful or defiant. She literally doesn't know why she doesn't want to do the thing or why she does want to do something. She doesn't understand her own feelings, certainly not well enough to articulate them. She may have a good reason for not wanting to do something, or she may have a bad reason, or she may have no reason. She can't figure that out. That's why she has two loving, intelligent parents to figure it out for her. Now, most of the parenting choices, if you can call them that you see in that video, if you can call them parenting choices anyway, that you see in the video are so over-the-top ridiculous that you would hope they'd require no further comment. Obviously, giving unlimited screen time to a toddler is deranged. You are guaranteeing that he will be hooked on screens and spend his entire childhood sitting around staring at a little box. That's what you're guaranteeing. It's not that it might turn out that way. It is 100% guaranteed to turn out that way. And letting a child eat whatever he wants, especially combined with the unlimited screen time, means that he will be morbidly obese well before he makes it to high school. Guaranteed. Giving him whatever he wants from the store means that he will be spoiled and materialistic. Again, it doesn't mean that he might turn out that way, but that he absolutely, with total certainty, will turn out that way. All of this, you would hope, is obvious. But if you look at the way many parents handle their kids these days, it would seem that these points are not so obvious. And whether parents are making all of these mistakes or not, or making them to this extreme degree or not, it's certainly the case that many struggle to understand one basic fact about raising children. And the fact is this: kids need structure, boundaries, routine, and guidance. They need all those things. And when I say they need those things, I mean they need them. They need them in the same way they need food and clothing and a roof over their heads. That doesn't mean that we should never give our children the ability to choose something, to actually have a choice, the ability to pick a path and walk down it. It means that their choices, especially when they're very young, should be extremely limited and controlled. And as they get older, you progressively expand their choices and you drop some of the limitations until they're adults, at which point, if you've done your job, they can go out into the world of limitless options and relative freedom, and they can make, hopefully, the right choices because they've been given the moral formation they need to make the right choices. As you might know, we're all fans of our friends at Genucel here. Don't just take my word for it, though. Ella from Rockford says, I have both age and acne spots, and this stuff is actually fading both of them. This serum is worth every penny. Ella is raving about the famous dark spot corrector from Genucel, a must-have after months of record heat and humidity. Sunspots, brown spots, discoloration, and even red inflamed patches all disappear in front of your very eyes. And here's the Genucel amazing guarantee. You'll see results on day one or your money back. So take advantage of Genucel's most popular package, which now includes the dark spot corrector plus the classic Genucel bags and puffiness treatment and immediate effects, all at about 70% off, so you can try the best skincare in the world for yourself, completely risk-free. It's simple. Go to Genucel.com/Walsh and start looking years, even decades younger. Say goodbye to dark and liver spots, bags and puffiness under the eyes, and crow's feet at Genucel.com/Walsh. That's Genucel.com/Walsh. Now, if you don't give your child structure, boundaries, routine, and guidance, then not only do they grow up to be terrible people due to a lack of moral intellectual formation, but they also grow up to be plagued with anxiety and uncertainty. We're told that childhood anxiety is on the rise. It's reached epidemic levels, we're told. That kids are so anxious. Well, that's not because there's some kind of mysterious mental illness going around. It's simply because many kids are growing up in environments without structure, without boundaries, without routine, and without guidance. This makes them uncertain, confused, flustered, overwhelmed, which is another way of saying anxious. The reason that kids ask a million questions every day is because they don't understand very much about the world, and this lack of understanding makes them uneasy. And they look to their parents to shine some light so that they can feel more confident and comfortable in the world. But what if all they hear from their parents is, I don't know, it's up to you. You make your own decisions, do whatever you want, be whoever you want to be. The world is your oyster. Well, this is not an empowering message for kids. It's not liberating. It's actually suffocating because it drowns them in unease and uncertainty. It leaves them lost and alone. Now, does that mean that we should take away our children's freedoms? Yes, in a certain sense, if by freedom you mean the ability to do whatever you want. But in another deeper sense, no, this is actually giving your child freedom. In fact, a childhood full of structure and rules and guidance is really the most freeing sort of childhood. You know, I've used this analogy before, that if you've got a guy who's lost in the wilderness, and you want to free that guy, do you free him by taking away his compass and map so that no one's telling him what to do? Or do you free him by giving him a compass and a map? So the man may be out in a wide open space. He may be able to go wherever he wants. The essence of freedom, if by freedom we just mean doing whatever you want. But he's trapped because he doesn't know which way he should go or where any of the paths lead. And a person who comes along and eliminates most of those potential paths and tells him which direction to walk is limiting his environment and taking away options, but also at the same time freeing him. True human freedom is not simply being able to do anything you want, but it's understanding what you should do. You cannot really choose anyway unless you know what you're choosing and you know what the consequences are. And that's what parents are for. But some parents, too many, including the one on TikTok here, don't understand that basic fact. And those parents are today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.